Everybody? Welcome back to another Bear Show. I'm Ivan Vargas. Got a special show for you tonight. We have Jon Zaghloul from Sports Talk Chicago going to join me to talk about the state of the Bears. But before we go ahead and get Jon on the air, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the Tape Never Lies Network. Make sure you become a patron at www.thetapeneverlies.com. A lot to discuss as the Bears obviously frustrating a lot of us fans, and I figured I would reach out to somebody who, for me, has the greatest voice in sport in Chicago podcasting right now. It's just I appreciate it so much because it's very. I could listen to Jon talk and go off about the Bears for as long as he's on the air, and I really appreciate him joining the show today. So without further ado, Jon Zaghloul. Jon, how are you? I appreciate you being on the show.
Ivan, thank you so much for having me. Such a kind intro, and very excited to be on with you. I have told many of my listeners, the Tape Never Lies, obviously good people, Phil and Shane, and obviously yourself, and many people who have been a part of the network in the past and who are continuing to be a part of it. You guys run a great operation. A lot of respect to all of you. So it's great to be on with you. We get a lot to discuss here tonight. I saw your show last week, obviously kind of reacting and ranting to the whole Matt Eberflus retaining situation. So I'm sure we're going to talk about that. But yeah, I just appreciate you having me on and looking forward to talking Bears. I could talk Bears all day with anybody, and I'm looking forward to doing it here with you, my friend.
I appreciate you, Jon. Well, you know what? Let's go ahead and start right there. The big news: the Bears are retaining Matt Eberflus, firing Luke Getsy. So there something is being done. There's some accountability being had. But I just felt like, and as you heard me in my rant, they had an opportunity to do something better, to do something more, and they fumbled the ball, by all accounts. So, let's hear what you have to say about it, Jon.
Well, Evan, you're absolutely right. They could have done everything all at once instead of kind of half-ass and kind of, hey, I'm going to fire this guy, but not that guy. We're going to keep this guy, but not that guy. It's his fault only. We're going to move forward. I mean, by the Bears firing Luke Getsy, they're effectively saying, right, publicly, that it's Luke Getsy only for why the Bears had a tough season this past year, right? Because, I mean, Matt Eberflus didn't get fired. Right. Justin Fields, as of today, is still the QB1, right? Ryan Poles is still there. I mean, all these key decision makers are still on the roster or on the coaching staff at some capacity, yet it's Luke Getsy and all of his low-level assistants who got the boot. So they are effectively publicly declaring that Luke Getsy is the issue. Luke Getsy is the reason why the Bears did what they did this past year. And you know what? If you want to go down that route, fine by me, so be it. But if this year you're not doing anything better, or if you're putting up similar results with the same head coach, potentially the same quarterback, if they don't draft somebody else, then we got a big issue, right? So I think the Bears should have and had the opportunity, as you said correctly, to kind of go all in. They could have fired Matt Eberflus, fired Luke Getsy. I know Ryan Poles was going to be safe, but I'll tell you what, now Ryan Poles has hitched his wagon to Matt Eberflus, which I think is a dumb move if I were Ryan Poles. Nevertheless, right, they could have done this right. They could have done this in a complete fashion. They could have brought in a new head coach, obviously a new offensive coordinator, then a new quarterback, started this whole thing fresh. Instead, you're doing what you did to Justin Fields. Now, I don't believe Justin Fields is the guy, right? But I will say this. I'm going to say this, and everybody will probably agree with this. He kind of got a raw deal, right? I mean, he comes into a situation of a lame duck head coach, Matt Nagy, right? And he's battling for a job with Andy Dalton, and even Nick Foles got to start that year. What a freaking disaster. Then the next year, you bring in a defensive-minded head coach. You bring in Luke Getsy. You're tanking, and then you're trying to kind of develop him. It's not really working. Luke Getsy, Matt Eberflus, everybody trying to get their feet wet. Then this past year, with everybody there for their second year, Justin Fields on his third year, it still didn't work. So the fact that you've gone through this year after year with a quarterback like Justin Fields, and that you're going to do the same thing to potentially Caleb Williams, lame duck head coach, new offensive coordinator, whoop-de-doo, same general manager, and, a situation in which Matt Eberflus is going to be coaching for his job, right? That makes no sense to do. So they effectively did the same thing they did to Justin Fields. Now, if Justin Fields sticks around and it's going to be Eberflus, Fields, and Poles, and that's going to be the triple tandem for the Bears that will either crash and fail or eventually succeed, fine. But if they draft a new quarterback and they have this lame duck head coach, they're doing the same thing they did to Justin Fields. And that's unacceptable to me. And it's unfair to Caleb Williams, Drake May, or whomever the Bears are going to draft, because they have to deal with the same crap that Justin Fields had to deal with, and that's wrong no matter what.
No, absolutely. And for me, I'm a Justin Fields guy. Like he hasn't done enough, right? Like before people jump down my throat, like he has not done enough, and I've said it
For sure.
many a times, and I've been one of the few, I guess, Justin fans that are, very critical of him performing, because it is a business. They will move on from you if you don't perform on the football field, and it just hasn't been enough. Have we seen explosives? Absolutely. But when it comes to consistency, it's not there. Every week in and week out, they're afraid of your athleticism. They're afraid of you getting outside the pocket, but they're not afraid of you throwing the football, and that's a problem. So for me, with Justin, hey, I appreciate your professionalism. I appreciate the leadership. I really do, but I just think that as a whole, the body of work hasn't been enough. So Caleb Williams would be my target. The one thing that I would say is, who's going to come in here with a lame duck coach, like you said, and operate this offense and try to either fix Justin Fields, which I think is probably something that's not going to be as attractive as going ahead and bringing in a young rookie that they can mold themselves and really groom to be their guy. So who's going to come in here with this lame duck season and be the OC? Who do you think?
I mean, I really have no idea, right? And that's kind of the key, because you kind of put it into a great perspective where it's, you have a situation where you're either going to inherit Justin Fields, get the best out of him, and we've already, and this is not a knock on Justin Fields, but we've seen enough in 3 years. We know who he is as a quarterback. Now, good or bad, we know who he is. I don't know if another offensive coordinator could get more out of him. Maybe that's possible. I'm not going to be holding my breath for it, right? If I were an offensive coordinator, I would rather have, rookie quarterback, new offense. Let's see what I could do, right? Let's see what I could do with somebody like a Caleb Williams or a Drake May or whomever the Bears end up drafting, if they even draft a quarterback, which I believe that they will, but, who knows? We'll see what happens. So if you're an offensive coordinator, you're going to be attracted to this job for one reason. You have your own quarterback. That's going to be the only reason, because I would not want to be walking into a situation in which, good luck, and the best out of Justin Fields and Matt Eberflus might get fired in a year. Have fun. Because at that point, you're going to be a year-long rental of an OC. You're going to get fired along with Matt Eberflus when he gets the boot next year. That is not going to be fun. If you come in with a quarterback and you show signs of growth, let's say the Bears next year go 7-10 again, but let's say the rookie quarterback's Caleb Williams and he has a decent season. You have an opportunity to still save your job if you come in and do a good job with, Caleb Williams, and then, maybe you get retained if a new head coach is hired. So, I think the way the Bears did this, it set them up, I don't want to say for failure, because nothing's occurred yet. We can't say they failed if there's been no end result, but it set them up in a very bad position, because at the end of the day, you got to hope that the Bears essentially draft a quarterback. Because if I'm an offensive coordinator, I'm not signing up to sit there and rehab Justin Fields and then get fired in a year when it doesn't work out. And then Matt Eberflus is the guy above me too. He's probably going to get the boot. That'd be dumb. If I'm an offensive coordinator, I want to come in because I know that there is a rookie quarterback. There's an opportunity for progress. I will get free reign over the offense. I won't have to listen to dummies up top who don't know what the hell they're doing, right? You put all that together, it's going to work. But if it's going to be a same old, if it's going to be, hey, come in here, fix Justin Fields in a year, because, if Justin Fields doesn't work out next year, there's no more defending him at all. I don't think there's any defending him in and of itself now, but you can make the case, and I'll listen to it. But next year, you're bringing a new OC, it still doesn't work. Matt Eberflus is going to be gone. That OC is going to be gone. Fields will be gone, and that OC came here for a one-year rental. That's not attractive, nor is that fair to any candidate who's going to be interviewing for this position.
No, and even beyond that, you know what I'm saying? If they do fire Eberflus and they do fire the OC on top, who's going to feel safe that their job, they're going to have the 3 to 4 years or what have you to operate? And in my heart of hearts, I feel like he has 4 years. I think they're going to give him the Matt Nagy treatment. They're going to allow him to operate his whole contract, and that's it. Then they'll make their decision then. For me, I think that's obviously the dumb decision. I want the splash move, but I also don't want to be so negative going into next year. So I'm trying to look for the positives in Eberflus. The only thing I could say is if they can add through the draft, right? Like beyond the first pick, if they can add through in the draft, they can add in the free agency. I think they need another safety. I think they need more defensive pressure on so another defensive lineman. I even would say, even though I like Jack Sanborn, I would be looking for a more athletic linebacker to replace a Jack Sanborn. So like there's still things that need to be added on defense, but you have an opportunity with the little progression that we did see to go ahead and make a splash next season. But the decision makings at crunch time, look at the 3 games that they lost in the fourth quarter, and I want you to go ahead and talk about that. Matt Eberflus's decision makings late in those games, the conservative thought process, the inability to go ahead and direct your offensive coordinator in how to operate. Because I don't know if it's a tandem thing, because he was a guy that was going to be the CEO, had to take over, but he still had influence, I felt like, in that offensive locker room. What was your thought process on his decision making during the year, and especially in those 3 losses in the fourth quarter?
Oh, I'm ready for this question. I'm so excited for this question. Here's what I'll say to that. There were people who made the claim that Eberflus should stay based on progression throughout the season. And well, at the end of the day, the Bears did go 5-3 in their last 8. The fact is that beginning, middle, and end, there were losses in the fourth quarter in which at times the Bears were up by 10 in that same quarter. It happened early in the season in Denver. It happened midway through the season in Detroit, and it happened at the end of the season with 38-year-old Joe Flacco, whose ass was on the couch a couple of months ago, who comes up off the couch and tears up the Bears in the fourth quarter, right? So you can't really say that there was progress. I can't say that there was progress for Matt Eberflus because beginning, middle, and end, they suffered losses in the same way. 10-plus points, fourth quarter, you lose every single time the same way. And the fact that he gets to be rewarded for that for another year is unbelievable, in my opinion. That's reason number 1. And I will say this, don't care what kind of flack it gets. I know there are going to be trolls all over hearing this, but I'm going to be honest with it, right? Nobody should be able to stay when 2 of your coaches were fired midseason for HR reasons. None of them. That's bullcrap. That's a joke. You know what? You want to talk about culture and character, blah, blah, blah. Those are all words, right? Because at the end of the day, if it was true that there was culture, if it was true that there was character, if it was true that Matt Eberflus knows how to judge character, then he wouldn't be hiring 2 people who did really bad things at Hallis Hall, right? At Bears headquarters. So when you combine that with the fact that he just cannot manage time whatsoever, and that throughout the season, beginning, middle, and end, there were losses of the same caliber in the same way, it makes no sense to me that he was retained. But nevertheless, the Bears are going to bear. They're going to keep doing their same BS, and they're going to find a way to justify keeping Eberflus based on winning 5 out of their last 8 against weak teams, relatively weak teams. That's why their defense shined out in the last 8 games. That's why their numbers improved. That's why they won 7 games, because their schedule was incredibly weak. If they had the schedule of some of the winning teams in football, because that's how it works, where, based on winning percentage the year before, I think they would have gone again 3-15, 4 or whatever it would have been. 3-14, 4-13. They would not have been good. So, it just it's not right what they did. Plain and simple. They did not approach this, in my opinion, in the right way. Ryan poses his opinion. Awesome. I hope it works out for him, because if it doesn't, he's going to be fired too, right? So I hope it works out for him. But I'm just not happy with the way all this played out.
No, I agree. And to be honest, Ryan Poles is kind of it's frustrating because I want to like him,
Of course.
and I want to. He's done good things. He's obviously scouted, and he has a eye for talent, right? Some don't work out. Velus Jones, but he, for the most part, has found starters in the draft. So I like him in that aspect, but I don't know if he's tying emotions to this, with Eberflus being his first coach, him wanting it to work out, him seeing the, little bit of progress that he does see, and thinks that, hey, we're almost there, right? The oil's on the other side. We're about to hit it. I don't know if he's over emotional or if he's got it on the money, but for me, I wanted the big splash. We didn't get the big splash. Moving forward, how do you feel the Bears as a whole going into next season, going into this offseason, are going to, do you think they're going to be aggressive? Do you think they're going to be passive? Because last season I felt like they did enough to where, you knew that they weren't going to be the greatest, but they were able to add talent to the and depth to the roster. How are they going to react this offseason? Because for me, this is a go type of offseason. You cannot let no stone be unturned. Make sure you're going ahead and not being timid with the checkbook. Go ahead and go after it. How do you feel the offseason for the Bears should be?
But I feel the same way as you. I think that they're going to have to spend, and then use their draft wisely to fill up more holes that they have on this team. I know you mentioned a pass rusher, potentially a middle linebacker. I'm looking at also hopefully a center, right? Because that was a big problem this year. Maybe a running back. Maybe you draft a running back in rounds 3 or 4 because, at the end of the day, Deontay Foreman's probably going to be gone, right? So you have Roschon Johnson and you have Khalil Herbert. Maybe you draft somebody else and make it a 3-headed tandem once more. Maybe you get another wide receiver as well in the draft. Marvin Harrison Jr., if he's still out there, that'd be nice. If not, grab somebody because you need somebody else besides DJ Moore. I think people are a little bit overcritical of Darnell Mooney. I don't think he was that bad this year. I think there was just a connection issue between him and Justin Fields. I still think he's a solid 2, maybe 3, and I still think he could work on this team come next year. But if you could draft a solid 1B or a solid 2, that'd be really helpful as well. So I think for the draft, they could address a lot of their needs. Whatever's left over, they better spend their money because now at this point, again, they're kind of in this situation where you got to prove something next year or else everybody could be fired. And I don't think that's hyperbole or that's saying too much. They went 7-10 this year. Not acceptable. I mean, I'm not impressed by 7-10. I mean, I'm not impressed considering how much money they spent last offseason and how much hype we heard about the Bears heading into this season, myself included. I said it on my show after the season. I was fooled too. They spent so much money. I really thought they did a good job. Polls specifically, good job, but the results weren't there, right? The results weren't there at the end of the day. So next year, we got to see playoffs. We got to see 9-8, 10-7, and a playoff appearance. If they go 9-8 and they get a wild card spot, you won't hear crap out of me. Fine, so be it. Even if it's 9-8, 10-7 would be preferable in my opinion, but 9-8 is fine. But if they do not make the postseason next year, and you told us at the end of this year to keep trusting the process, and we're going to keep Eberflus, and Poles is still the GM, and we got a big issue, in my opinion. You got a huge issue. If you're sitting here telling us to continue to be patient, you spend more money, you draft unbelievably well, you bring in a new offensive coordinator, because apparently it was only Luke Getsy's fault as to why they sucked, and then you go 7-10 again, we got a major problem. So the Bears have to do everything they can this offseason to spend their money wisely, bring in talent, draft well, and they better be a playoff contender next year, plain and simple. I don't care if they don't make it. I'm not expecting them to make the Super Bowl, right? But they better be in that postseason bracket come week 18. And if they're not, I'm going to consider next year a huge failure. And that means, hey, if they go 10-7 and miss the playoffs, still a failure. You got to make the playoffs next year after saying all these things that you said and after all that you did and how you justified keeping this failure of a head coach. He is the second worst coach in Bears history by winning percentage. He's 10-24. He gets retained. Mike Vrabel gets fired. Bill Belichick gets fired. And this guy gets to stay. Unbelievable. Right? Unbelievable. And one more thing, too. I just thought of this now. Ryan Poles said at his opening press conference that we're going to take the North and we're never going to give it back. Well, I'll tell you what. If you look at the North right now, I mean, the Bears are on the up and up for sure. But the Lions are looking good, right? They're going to be good for a while, I think. The Packers. What about the Packers and Jordan Love? Jordan Love had the best season any Bears quarterback would have ever had, which is true. 4,100 yards, 30 passing touchdowns. No Bears quarterback's ever done that. And he's essentially a rookie. So, when you really think about it here, the Bears better get their act together now because other people are higher up than the Bears as we speak. For sure, the Packers and the Lions, no doubt, are at a better place right now than Chicago is. That's troubling.
What bothered me the most about that interview was when, and he said it pretty direct when they asked if he spoke to Jim Harbaugh. And to be honest, it didn't have to be Jim Harbaugh. He could have said, "Have you spoke to anyone else outside of Matt Eberflus, or talked to anybody, or have you looked for anyone else besides this coach to maybe be the leader of your team?" And he said direct, no. Like, I never even talked to Jim. How do you not, like, for somebody who is talking about not having any stone be unturned, isn't that a big stone to have unturned?
I couldn't agree more. And, I had Dan McNeil on my show this past week, and he said the exact same thing. I put the clip out on Twitter. How do you not even talk to Jim Harbaugh? And I'm not saying that I'm a gigantic Jim Harbaugh super fan, but it goes to like what you said. Anybody else? You don't want to talk to? Oh no, he's our guy. BS. You got to be kidding me. This guy's 10-24. How could you say, "Oh yeah, that's my guy"? If that's your guy, then you're a loser too. You're a loser too if that's your guy, and that's who you want to stick with. And I'll tell you what again, and I keep saying it. If they go 7-10 next year, Ryan Poles better be gone. I don't even want to hear his name again, because at this point, you pitched your wagon to this coach. And if I were Ryan Poles, dumb business decision. I would personally, if I were in his position, I would never stick my wagon to somebody like this. And it's not because I hate him as a person. I think he's a nice guy off the field. I certainly do. I've heard a lot of great stories about him. But on the field, can't manage time, can't judge character, can't hire the right staff, hire staff that ends up being weird off the field. And then you got a situation where, you're losing games left and right, and there's just a lot of things are out of control. So that's just me, but I guess we'll see what ends up happening, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then, we have to entrust that he's going to make the decisions in personnel for, on the offense. Like, that's something that we have to, I think that's going to be under a microscope until it's the decisions made. But yeah, his personnel decision making has not been up to par, and having, just how troubling to not even know directly what the issues were, and it being very hush hush, and the direct dismissal of those coaches, not even a rebuttal. No, like, this was not tolerated. Like, that bothers me, and I'm sure it's bothered plenty of fans. John, I'm going to go ahead and get you out of here early. Man, I appreciate you coming on. There's so much to talk about. I hope we can talk about the Bears again later on down the road once this off season kicks up. But I'm gonna let you go get back to this game. I know this game is getting interesting. I'm interested in it too. I'm invested in it as well. But anyway, before you get out of here, make sure you go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you and your work.
Well, Ivan, thank you so much for the invitation, man. Certainly enjoyed it. You can find me at Sports Talk Chicago on YouTube. And in case anybody didn't know, the show's actually syndicated. So we're on 6 stations every single week. So if you go out, we do live streams Wednesday nights. I don't mean to cut into Tape Never Lies. Don't worry, guys. I'm not trying to get people pissed off. But we go live on Wednesday nights because of my work schedule. I have a day job, right? So we go live Wednesday nights. And then that show's cut up and it airs on all of our great TV and radio affiliates across Illinois and Indiana. But, for you guys, go to YouTube, subscribe. You could, podcast it wherever you want. Follow me on Twitter, Jon Z Sports. And, a lot of content will be there for all of you. And again, Ivan, appreciate the opportunity to come on with you. And, anytime, man. I really enjoyed tonight. I know as things really start to heat up this offseason, I'm sure we're going to be in contact more. And I look forward to doing this again.
Absolutely, John. Thank you for being here tonight. Go enjoy the game. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that was Jon Zaghloul from Sports Talk Chicago. Pleasure. It was an enjoyable interview. I definitely want to have John back on here once the offseason begins to ramp up. Again, just the thought of, hey, we could have had something better kills you, right? Like, hey, I wanted to take a shot to really be, that team that's putting their mark on the map. I'm not going to go be negative once the offseason is over, once we see what's out there for the Bears, what moves they make. I'm not going to be negative going into the season, but I will be telling the truth. As soon as the first real snap starts, I'm going to be telling the truth. It's something that I really want to work out, just for the simple fact that Bears fans have suffered enough. We deserve a winner. We deserve a consistency with our football team. We deserve the best, and we just haven't gotten it. Now, you know how I feel about Matt Eberflus. I don't hate him as a person. Same with John. The operation, the decision making, it just hasn't been enough. It hasn't been good enough. And giving them another opportunity with, potentially the biggest decision in Bears history, whether it be keeping Justin Fields or going forward with Caleb Williams or whoever it may be, Drake May, whatever they decide to do. It's just it's very scary to think, right? It's very scary to think about that they're going to entrust him again. We're going to run it back, and if it doesn't work, well, we tried, right? Is that what we're going to get? Bears fans are always going to be here. GMs are going to come and go. Players are going to come and go. Bears fans are always going to fucking be here, and they deserve a winner. I just hope they get it right, man, because if they don't, well, both of them will be out of here. Anyway, guys, I'm going to keep the tonight's show nice and condensed. I want to go back to watching the football game and enjoying the night. I hope you guys are enjoying your night as well. I will be having more of these smaller segments during the offseason. Definitely going to add more interviews throughout the offseason as well. I'm going to have a couple of nights where I want to bring in a few fans to do mock drafts. We could do a quick mock draft on the show. So there's going to be things that I'm gonna introduce into the fold here in coming weeks and in coming months. So be prepared. Let me know if you have any interest in that. But yeah, great show tonight, guys. I appreciate Jon for being here. I appreciate all you guys for joining me tonight on another Bears show. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the Tape Never Lies Network. Make sure you become a patron at www.thetapeneverlies.com. That's enough for me. I'm going to get back to watching some football. It's been a good game over here. Bucks up 10-0 over the Eagles. Hopefully we can see the Bears here next year in the playoffs on Wild Card Weekend, or, even better if they shock the world and win the division. But hey, we could just only watch the football that's on the TV and hope that the Bears get it right next season. Anyway, guys, I'm Ivan Vargas. Have a good night. Peace.